The easiest way to tell the difference between paleontology and archaeology is if you find some inexplicable bullshit,
Quack.
Are the people around you saying ritual purposes or are they saying display structure? So a lot of people mix up paleontology and archaeology, which makes perfect sense because those are both ways of putting together Greek roots to make a word that means knowing about old stuff, but they are different fields. Archaeologists study human history and human prehistory using almost always stuff as opposed to texts, because using texts to study human history is called being a historian. Paleontologists study ancient life generally, using the remains or fossilized remains of ancient plants and animals, or other preserved traces of their existence, like fossilized trackways and burrows and leaf imprints and that kind of stuff. When humans make a thing that does not have an obvious other purpose, the reason for making the thing is often some kind of ritual, so may have been used for ritual purposes is a phrase that you're gonna hear a lot if you're reading archaeology news, because that's kind of a safe guess to stick on an unidentifiable artifact. And to be fair here, ritual purposes does not mean religious purposes, okay? This is a broader claim than some people think it is. Like, for example, the pointy foam hand finger things from sports games, that's a ritual artifact. When an animal has a really crazy body part, at least in the modern world, that's often because it's a display structure, like the antlers of a stag or the ruff of a frilled lizard. It's there to communicate something to other animals, like, I'm so big and scary and eating me is not worth your time and effort, or hey, peahens, I'm so sexy, I don't need to be able to fly. So if you find a fossil animal that's got a really crazy body part, display structure is a pretty reasonable go-to guess, which means may have been a display structure is also a phrase that you're gonna see kind of a lot in paleontology papers. So I first made that archaeology paleontology joke in my first year as a content creator, and it was actually mentioned on a podcast by a really cool, successful paleontologist, specifically to say that he hated the joke. Which, first of all, crazy way of finding out that someone you really admire knows you exist. Also, I do get where he was coming from. There is this anti-intellectual narrative that my joke arguably feeds that likes to exaggerate the similarity between an educated guess and a random guess to make the claim that scientists don't actually know anything and it's all just random guesses, bleh. And that is an incredibly tiresome narrative. And from that perspective, I do get the case for my joke being problematic. That being said, it's funny, and it does really efficiently communicate the difference between those two fields. So I don't know what you guys think, but I actually still think I'm valid for saying